Hi guys, and welcome back to the channel. My name is Justin Leopard, and this is Higher Hertz. I'm your online cello teacher, and today I have a lesson for you guys, Intro to Improvisation. So it's possible that when you want to play music, you want to be able to improvise, especially if you've seen like really awesome performances where somebody's really shredding and you're like, man, how can I do that? And definitely there's a lot of classical music that almost counts as shredding, and it's also extremely difficult to play. So for the average cellist, the question emerges, how do I actually improvise? It just seems like this sort of impossible thing, or so it can. And hopefully in this video, we're going to demystify it a little bit, talk about how to get started with improvisation, the most important things. And the good news is that all of the foundational pieces exist in our other videos. So if you need to go into more detail, watch our other videos on the concepts I'm about to talk about. All right, so the foundations of improvisation come from scales, a rhythmic understanding, knowing your instrument, and being able to play what you can hear in your ear or what you would be able to sing. If you combine the things that you know how to play on the cello with a feeling in the moment of what you're going to actually play and use your ear to guide, then you can start to get something that was spontaneously composed. So improvisation is always often thought of as spontaneous composition. And while that might seem a little bit scary, it's just really not, because music is made up of what can be broken down into kind of dry and boring concepts, like major and minor scales. And that's why it can be hard to practice scales. But the thing is, if you have different scales under your fingers, then it's going to be easy to play all that fast stuff. When somebody plays something that's so fast you don't even know what they're playing, well, obviously you can't play that, but you might someday, because what they're playing oftentimes is nothing more than sort of a complicated pattern that they've practiced a lot and mastered and then can adapt to that circumstance. So we're going to scale back all of these concepts and use them at the ability level that we are. So we're going to start by just trying to play a G major scale as fluidly as possible. So we're going to play all the notes in order. We know exactly what the notes are, but what we're going to be improvising is the interpretation. We're going to be trying to make the scale sound like music, okay? So I'll just play and demonstrate. Okay, and so you're allowed to use different rhythms, okay? Now, once you get a little bit comfortable with that sort of exercise, then you can start to pick different notes, but still from the same notes you were playing. So this way, you're really using your muscle memory for what the scales are in order to help you be able to play more confidently and to know that the notes are going to work. So right now, we're not concerned with chord changes. We're just concerned with making sounds from the things that we know in a musical way. Okay, and again, as in a lot of our videos, we're going through the steps a little quickly, but at each one of these steps, you can take 20 minutes or a day or even a week to just really be doing this one concept, and that'll just help you get a stronger foundation. So there's no one right way or wrong way to do this, but it takes more time than just 10 seconds, in case that needs clarifying. Okay, so continuing on, the next thing that we want to add is some sense of the phrasing that we're doing. So we want to be able to feel how long 4 bars is or 8 bars is, because that's how we tell our stories. So this is where singing comes in very useful, where we're in G major, we can give ourselves a G major reference, and what we want to do is try to sing a melody to ourselves that uses the G major notes, okay? So we're not necessarily going to know how to play what we sing, but what we are going to do is pay attention to what we sing. As much as we can replicate it, the better we're going to be when we're playing it. So, da 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 da. Okay, so one thing that you can pay attention to when you're singing are those phrases. And when you're playing, you can also pay attention to, at the end of 2 bars or 4 bars, ending, just having the sense that you're ending up. Whereas if you're ending at the 4 bars or 8 bars, you can have a sense that you're ending down, if that makes sense. So you can give the music natural pauses at certain places, and it's going to help it sound more compositional because it's more, the music makes sense. The musical ideas come across as an idea that makes sense, as though they had words. Like words, ideas have ideas. You know what I'm saying? Okay, so to continue on, let's go back to what we're playing, but let's really just try to feel some sort of phrases, okay? So we can use this intuitively. And that's the really fun part of improvisation, is that there's a lot more right answers than in written music. In written music, there's very little wiggle room for what you can do, but when you're improvising, if you can't play something, don't play it. Play something else instead. That's the power given to you. So when you see performances that are super, super crazy, remember that that's something that that person can play. They can't play everything, though. Nobody can. But the really great players, they can play a lot. So it looks like they can play everything. And that's why we can scale this stuff back. So let's just, again, try to come back and just try to play the phrases, okay? And if we wanted to continue, we could continue to other places. Now, if you work on this a while, you will be able to play things that make more sense. At first, it might be a little wonky. And everybody, when they're not used to improvisation, will play things that feel a little meandering. And I don't necessarily want to discourage you from doing that, because one of the really great ways you can just get to know your instrument and get to know improvisation is to put on a drone. Find a recording or YouTube video of a drone and just play in that key. This is going to help you with your fluidity and your general phrasing. But at a certain point, you also want your ideas to make sense. And even in one key center, even without any chord changes, if we start to think in terms of phrases, that'll help us when we're playing actual chord changes. Because when we're improvising over a song whose chords change, we want to play things that enhance that chord progression. And we'll go into more detail of the theory of how to do that, maybe in a subsequent video. But in short, what you can then do, if you're used to being able to play in a key center and you're used to being able to phrase well, is you can basically simplify a chord progression for yourself. Because if you start to recognize that even though there's a lot of different chords here, they're all mostly in this key center, and then you're playing in a way that makes sense with the phrases, then what you're playing is more likely going to fit with the notes that are part of the chords to begin with. And so this is at the core of what's going to separate amateur improvisation from genuinely good improvisation, is how natural and intuitive the things are. And I think that the most natural and intuitive way to play improvisationally is to really just think about the phrasing. Because if you're doing that, a lot of different notes can work on any given chord. So you don't have to be overly concerned that you're hitting the right note for the chord, as long as you're listening and you're playing something that makes sense. Remember, with improvisation, if you play a wrong note, a note you didn't intend, sometimes what works is to play that note again, because maybe the chords catch up to where you are, and along the way, the note was appropriately resolved from its initial dissonance. So this is something like Miles Davis says, like if you play the wrong note, those are the honey notes, those are the sweet notes, and so play it again. And when you engage with the process of improvisation, you will find there are so many little tricks to making sure that when you actually play, you're basically playing what you want to play. And I just found that process to be very engaging. I've engaged with it for like 11 years now, or 10 years now, 10 years now. And it's just really rewarding. So hopefully this video is helpful to showing you guys the initial steps you can take to be more comfortable with your instrument and more connected to phrase ideas. If you use singing to play better, and if you use the scales and the meters of phrasing in order to guide yourself, you'll start to get really comfortable with being able to make things up on the spot. And And then you'll be able to bring that into actually learning some songs and how to improvise on those songs later. In any case, that's all I have for you guys today. Once again, my name is Justin Leopard, also known as the Vagabond Cellist, and this has been a production with Higher Hertz. So please subscribe below for more cello lesson videos. Really appreciate you guys watching. Like and leave a comment how things are going for you. We want to know. So thank you for watching again, and we'll see you in the next video.